And hello, welcome to Good Body, Good Brain, our local podcast. We're focusing on today, we're focusing on wealth, well being, finance. And I'm so fortunate to have with me Dr. Alan Lomax. He is an organizational psychologist. He is founder of Steed Talker Capital, a private equity firm. And we're going to have lots to talk about today, especially the fact that the market is doing like tailspins. But that's not going to bother us because we're doing passive investing, right?
That's correct. Yes. It does have an effect, but it doesn't affect us nearly to the degree that it does the stock market. So
Mm-hmm. And so you have a program,
I do
Streams to
have a
Impact.
program, Streams to Impact, a prosperity program, and we can talk more about that as we get into the program here.
Okay, all right. So, how do you think being an organizational psychologist helps you look systems wise at like investing, especially for us professionals who don't know anything about what we're doing in terms of money?
Well, that's a great question, and actually, my degree is organizational systems psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a study of systems, which everything in the world is organized around systems. There's
Mm-hmm.
the our body is a system, and
Mm-hmm.
everything within our body is interconnected. Uh, every aspect of our body is connected to our brain, and our eyelids do not blink without a signal coming from our brain. That's how interconnected everything is in our body. And so it's a system. And even though we can look at ourselves as individuals, there are multiple components within that system. Then we can move to family systems. And family systems have, like all systems, they have their rules, their regulations, their traditions, their practices, and that really is essentially what defines your system, whether it's a family system or you move into a community organization or you move into a nation, which is organized by governments, and within nations, there are all kinds of systems. And of course, the system that we're looking at today is that economic system that, of course, in our conversation today, how does that economic system intertwine and connect with health and well-being? So it's a natural progression, and actually, I guess to really understand it from my perspective, if you don't mind, a little bit about who I am and my
Oh,
story
love to hear it. Love
and
to hear it.
how I got here.
Mm-hmm.
So, just one of my fundamental core values and core beliefs is uh, that we as individuals, at least we as healthy individuals, we have a dream and a desire to make a positive impact in this world. And so I come from that perspective. But there's a lot of things that in life that just get in our way of us making that positive impact that we dream of making. And so going back to really the seventh grade, which was a real pivotal moment in my life, my family and I were sitting around the black and white TV. Tells you two things that dates us there. We were all sitting around one television, and it was black and white. So I'm dating myself there for sure there. Well, on the program, on this television came this program. It was a special on homosexuality, which that in and of itself back in those times was even unusual to even hear that word. It's particularly unusual for me because I'd never heard the word. So as we were sitting here watching this program, the people being interviewed had their faces smudged out and their identities concealed. These interviews were being conducted in in back alley kinds of places where
Mhm.
normal people don't go. But
Mhm.
as this interview is going on, I came to the realization that they were talking about me,
Mhm.
and that, believe me, that was not rainbows and unicorns. It was like being hit with a ton of bricks. And so, the seventh grade, this realization, nowhere to go with anyone that I could talk to
Right.
about that. And so, along with that, I am dyslexic, and so had in those days there was no recognition or diagnosis of
Mhm.
dyslexia. So here I am labeled uh, not very bright, and on top of that, dealing with sexuality that I can't talk about. So bullying ensues. I don't do well in school. My high school counselor, well-meaning, of course, suggests that I not go to college, that I go into a trade school.
Army. The
I
Army.
didn't at the Army or whatever, anything but going to college, but I wanted to go to
Mhm.
college. So I found
Mhm.
a school that accepted me. Very lackluster undergraduate career, managed to graduate because society told me so. I got married, went from dead end job to dead end job. Finally, my wife, who had more insights than I had, ended the marriage. And that was really the rock bottom moment for me. The first time in
Mhm.
my life I went into psychotherapy, and it was like a light switch for the first time in my
Mhm.
life. I started to see.
Were you able to speak to her about what was going on with you internally? Was that available then?
Yes, and we went to a very well-meaning counselor who told us it's just a phase and it will pass. And so I wanted to believe that, and so we progressed really along those lines. And finally, the marriage ends. I go into psychotherapy, and for the first time in my life, I really realized that so much of myself that I had disowned were actually my strengths.
Mhm.
And I go back to school, I get my counseling degree, get a job as a university counselor, finish my Ph.D. And finally, for the first time in my life, I find a passion that drives my actions, and
Mhm.
I find fulfillment. I
Mhm.
start investing in real estate to actually develop wealth, uh, and it was surprising to me how rapidly my wealth could develop through through real estate. Well, 2008 comes.
Mhm.
I lose my job, my identity that was so closely associated with that job, and a good portion of my real estate wealth is wiped out. So once again, I hit rock bottom, uh, and this time. I just do a whole lot of internal contemplation and
Mhm.
discover a whole lot of things about myself. I come out of a closet bigger than a Kardashian's, and and really for the first time in my life, I identify my reading, writing, and spelling challenges as the dyslexia that they are,
We had a name for
and
it then.
we had a name for it
Mhm.
finally. Yes. And so I turned to really the aspects of positive psychology, particularly
Mhm.
Seligman's research on the five elements of thriving.
Mhm.
I start practicing positive emotions. I re-engage in my work, and I particularly and during this time it was the engagement with horses that made all the difference in the world, and that pulled me
Mhm.
through those
Mhm.
dark times. And relationships started developing that were fulfilling and rewarding, and those also came through connections with the horse world. um, and I really engaged with the deeper meanings, the larger meanings of who and what I am, to really make a difference in this world. And I
Mhm.
practice celebrating achievements. So those were big turning points. Uh, so just connecting all of that together, what I came out of that is that we all need hope. You as
Hope,
a
yeah.
psychologist, you know
Mhm.
that depression is basically a
Mhm.
lack of hope, and we can't move out of depression really
Mhm.
until we have hope. So we have to have hope, and with that hope, then we can develop um, our imagination. And with our imagination, we can find our meaning and our purpose. And with uh, our vision, our meaning, and our purpose, we can find that passion. And with that passion, we are going to find an action. Our actions are going to be uh, uh, driven by all of those things together.
Mhm.
And when we put compassion into that, compassion for ourselves,
Mhm.
first of all, compassion for others, then we have a formula for major transformation in life. So if you didn't catch that, the
Yes.
mnemonic is impact and
Purpose.
and
Purpose.
purpose. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm. And
So
horses are just the greatest therapists in the world. They're so in tune to your emotions. They
yeah,
can read you. They can watch you walk down the stables and read you.
absolutely.
Yeah, I grew up
And
with horses. They were
yeah,
always horses, dogs, anything with four legs. They're good therapists. Good for
they
you,
absolutely,
Alan. I'm so
they
glad. I'm so
absolutely
glad
are.
you found them
Yeah,
at the time in your life when they were really important to you.
yes. And I mean, another thing that I have
Mhm.
discovered through those years was actually the power of meditation.
Mhm.
I was listening to Terry Gross's program. This was several years ago, and I don't remember who she was interviewing, but she was an elderly woman, and she was telling about her story with meditation, and she
Mhm.
was introduced to meditation in, I think it was just her early 20s, and it was instantaneously. She was, it brought so much meaning and purpose to her life, and so she continued
Mhm.
that practice, throughout her whole entire life. That's not me. Meditation does not come naturally to me in any way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. But it was through those connections with horses that I finally found really an avenue into meditation. And not only did I find an avenue into meditation, I saw the immense power of meditation. uh, the experiences that I was having with horses, it was really from a traditional
Mhm.
experience with horses, natural horsemanship and all of
Mhm.
that, which isn't natural for horses. It
No,
may be natural for humans,
neither
but
is
it isn't. It
dressage
isn't
isn't
for horses.
natural for horses.
It
No.
is. It is not. It is not natural. So anyway, I was engaged in all of that, but being engaged in that, I was going to workshops and was writing on a daily basis and
Mhm.
just loving it, immersed in that.
Mhm.
But along the way, I began to realize that though I was getting tremendous joy out of it, horses were not getting the same experience from this
Mhm.
that I was. And so I
Mhm.
started looking for other mentors outside of the natural horsemanship endeavor. I came across a documentary. It's free on YouTube. It's The Path of the Horse. It's a beautiful documentary,
Mhm.
and it's about a horse trainer, Stormy May, who went from traditional methods of horse training to the point where today she doesn't even ride horses any longer.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story.
Mhm.
And then I also connected with James French and his trust technique, and that
Mhm.
was really
Mhm.
when I started seeing the power of meditation. And just another story here. So, a friend of mine recently, about a year and a half ago, she acquired a new horse, and her goal was that she wanted what she called a rocking chair horse, a horse that she could just get on and it would be
Mhm.
placid and calm. And anyway, she had this opportunity to get this horse, and this horse, she was told it was a quarter horse, which they have, generally speaking, have a pretty calm disposition, but he's part quarter horse, and the other part is thoroughbred. And you've been around horses,
We
and
don't have
they're
calm.
they're two different kinds of breeds. So she has this horse, and she doesn't know what to do with him because, believe me, he has
He's a
thoroughbred,
handful. He's a handful.
and he is spirited. I just absolutely love this horse.
Mhm.
But she didn't know what to do with him, so she invited me to come and help her with it. Well, I don't know what's happened to this horse. He's about 10 years old when she got him. I know he had been put in the show ring, and who knows? You're in the horse world. You know how cruel they are to
Yeah.
horses, and the
Especially
horse,
Tennessee Walkers.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, horrible. But
Mhm.
this guy, we don't know what happened to him, but she could not get a bridle on him. I don't use bits on bridles, by the way. I use bitless bridles. So he would have nothing to do with the bit. So I think the only way they could get this fellow in the show ring was with a really cruel bit, and probably they had a martingale holding
On him, yeah.
on his head down.
His
So
head down.
yeah, so he's had terrible experiences and very, very traumatized. Well, the first day I went out with him, it was like, well, we're not going to get a bridle on him. And so I just went into that meditation space with him. And within about 15 minutes, that neck relaxed, that head went down. And guess what? We just slipped that bitless bridle on him with no fuss, no mess, nothing at all. That is the power of meditation, and the connection that we have, not just with other human beings, but with other four-legged
Everything.
beings.
Oh, everything.
Same thing works with dogs and cats as well.
And other critters too.
And other critters, yes.
Yeah. Goats, works with goats too.
Absolutely, goats.
Chickens.
Chickens. And you have chickens, don't you? I've never.
I do.
I
do.
I've not been around chickens, but yes.
They're actually the only small dinosaurs left on Earth.
Yeah.
And if you look at their feet and their makeup and their beak, they really are little dinosaurs.
They look like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, yes. Yeah.
And so impact is so important, because I talk to a lot of women who want to make an impact, but they don't have any money. I say, well, how are you going to do good if you don't do good? Meaning, if you don't amass an amount of income that you can use to do good, not just your usual stuff. I'm talking about above and beyond, to make an impact in the world. And that's the kind of people I like to work with.
Yeah.
I like to show women that they can get to $1 million in sales, and they can have wealth and wellness at the same time. In fact, they're interconnected.
They are interconnected. And Sally, I appreciate you bringing that up, because I've done a fair amount of lit reviews in terms of that connection between our psychology and wealth. There's very little in the psychology research in conjunction with wealth and financial well-being. You have to go into economics and into the financial literature, and you find lots of it there. But they aren't really good about the psychology of that. There are some limited studies in conjunction with well-being and psychology, and one of those studies back, I think it was in 2010, and the researchers discovered that as people's income levels grew, this was back in 2010, to about $75,000 a year, their happiness or their subjective well-being seemed to increase along with that wealth increase. And I guess if you took that same amount, it would probably be about 125 to 150 in today's dollars. But at that point, it kind of leveled off, and the more money that, or the more wealth that you increased, happiness didn't necessarily increase with that. Well, some later studies, and these are really current studies, they were looking at these 2010 studies, and they started looking really at more nuanced aspect of it. And they discovered that, in fact, that there is no limit to the increase in subjective well-being that is with people who are happy already. As their wealth increases incrementally, their subjective well-being increases along with their wealth, and there's no cap on that. Now, if you are a curmudgeon and you're unhappy all of the time, there still is that cap about $125,000, $150,000, and your subjective well-being doesn't increase over that. But you don't have to be a curmudgeon. You- we we are born with certain kinds of dispositions, but you know, as a psychologist, that our DNA is less than 50% of who and what we actually decide to become. So we have a lot of options there above and beyond our DNA. So I would say to those women that don't have any money, that's exactly where I was in 2008. I didn't have really essentially anything. I was just pretty well wiped out. So you can start wherever you are, and you can develop your wealth. And if you are a curmudgeon, there are things that you can do to change that. And Seligman has some good suggestions on that. And the
Martin.
thing that, yes, the thing that helped me was that aspect of ending each and every single day and looking back on that day and finding just 3 good things from that day. And I do this exercise with my students, and they go, that just doesn't seem to make any difference.
Oh,
Well,
that's not going to matter.
it doesn't matter. But it changes our perception about our life situation, and it changes it dramatically. And positive emotions are they not only are going to help us to develop our financial wealth, but positive emotions are critical to our physical health. And is it Fredericksburg? She's at the University of North Carolina. Has done extensive research on this. And people who experience more positive emotions have a 10-year life expectancy rate above and beyond those who do not practice positive emotions. So it has enormous impact upon our physiological well-being. And if we're doing well physiologically, we're going to find many more opportunities to enhance our financial well-being as well.
The other piece to that is a lot of really good investments are based on relationships. So you become a super connector. You meet other people who have similar mindsets as you, who want to make a positive impact in the world. You feel aligned to them. You want to do some mutual, maybe, JV work or whatever you want to do, investing together, community investing, all those kinds of things. And you find a group of people that you really enjoy, and you travel together, and you have fun together, and the world's a lot better place because you're going to use that money that you're making to make that impact, whatever you choose. I choose rescue animals. You probably have your own special group of people that you choose to give money to. So yes, we can make tremendous impact with positive thinking.
Well, yes, and going back to 2008, I mean, that was one of the big lessons that I learned coming out of that major loss. Up until that point in time, really, I had been doing individual investing in single family homes and doing what they call fix and flip, which
Mm-hmm.
HGTV has popularized as though
Oh,
that's
yes.
really the cat's meow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing that and holding some for rental properties and what have you, but I was doing it individually and on my own. And 2008 was that wake up point. It's going, if I really, really want to grow my wealth exponentially, which I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to network with people, and I have a podcast, and that's my major form of networking, and so
Mm-hmm.
I've developed a very large network of successful investors, and
Mm-hmm.
it has made all of the difference in the world. So you're absolutely right. Relationships are key not only to our emotional well-being, but they're key to the development of our wealth as well, our financial wealth.
So, you personally, do you have a community where you sort of advocate for this more passive investing and like maybe REITs or those kinds of things? So, what areas do you are the most profitable for you right now?
Well, private equities
Mm-hmm.
and private equities involve purchasing of small businesses, or I mean, well, not necessarily small, but purchasing of businesses that are not listed on the stock market, but they
Mm-hmm.
also entail investing in real estate, particularly real estate syndications. And
Mm-hmm.
through these real estate syndications, we invest in multifamily uh, properties, we invest in mobile home parks, we invest in storage, and we haven't as of yet, but we're looking into car washes because that they are an excellent way to provide not only uh, equity growth and but and appreciation, but they also
Mm-hmm.
provide cash flow really early on in the investment. So we're looking into some
Mm-hmm.
of those as well. So that is what where we provide the investments are within those various different opportunities. And yes, I have a program. I have an educational program to take anyone who has never invested in private equities from ignorance to confidence in
Mm-hmm.
terms of being able to make their first investment in a private equity, and to do it with confidence and with the assurance that there is a very excellent and wonderful chance that they're going to get outstanding returns from that investment. Um, and uh,
And
and
in the show notes, you have that gift. Is that the gift you're talking about?
yeah, the gift, if you
Mm-hmm.
we can go into that. Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
all of your viewers and listeners are very welcome to go to um, steedtalker.com. That's Steed like the horse. We've been talking about that. And
Mm-hmm.
Talker is
Mm-hmm.
like what we've been doing with horses, talking to them through mindfulness there. So steedtalker.com
Mm-hmm.
/passive. And then you will have access to a free training. And in that free training, we talk about uh, the uh, the process of actually going into that process, which is first of all clarification of your values and how do your values support and connect to your vision. And we'll take
Mm-hmm.
a moment to look at what are the challenges that are preventing you from attaining your vision. And we provide then a blueprint for overcoming those challenges to get you to the point where you can attain that particular vision. And it's complimentary
Mm-hmm.
for your viewers and listeners. Uh, and uh, and then you'll have the opportunity to um, once going through that training, you'll have the opportunity to actually schedule a one-on-one,
phone call.
yes, passive investing
Mm-hmm.
to prideful impact consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And that consultation will be anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes, and it's complimentary.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, we'll delve deep into the values, your vision, and personalize those, and look at your challenges, and we'll deliver a blueprint specifically for you. And you can decide at that point in time, if your visions and values align with us, you could decide whether or not to join our program. And there's no obligation. And you may decide, yeah, that's the program for me. I want to join it. Well and good and wonderful. Maybe not. Maybe you have friends or acquaintances whom you could refer, or maybe you'll come back to us at a later date. Whatever the outcome, we'll leave as friends and have a cordial conversation. And at the very least, you'll have the opportunity to explore your values, your vision, and the challenges, and leave with a blueprint to attain that vision. So,
and the wonderful thing about this is this will be in the show notes. So anytime you pop on and listen to us, we'll be on all the majors, like uh, Apple, Shop. I want to say Shopify. That doesn't sound right.
Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify. Yeah. We're thinking about money, right?
Yeah.
Spotify, iHeart, listen, there's probably about 7 or 8. You can't miss us. You can also just plain go into any podcaster thing and just type in Good Body, Good Brain, and it'll pop up. But also the show notes will be there. And we will be on YouTube as well. So you can actually see us as we're talking. Not that you need to, but sometimes I think just being in somebody's ear is very intimate as you are traveling along and listening to what maybe you have to say. And Alan, your travels, you traveled so far and gone to some amazing places, reflections and realizations, and I'm hoping you're still using your counseling skills when you run across students who are just plain confused and need a little support and some direction of who to go talk to.
Yeah, Sally, I mean, it's all about counseling. I mean, my counseling skills are employed every day that I'm working with potential investors, because it isn't just about the money. It is about their well-being, and
yes, and they get scared sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, and with reason. I mean, it's a scary world out there. So yeah.
And finding people you can trust, I think, is the most important thing of whoever you decide to invest with, that that they're a trustworthy human being, they're authentic, they do what they say they're going to do, and you certainly have lived that talk. And I would heartily recommend anyone to take your complimentary course and then book that call, and they'll just get so much wonderful knowledge. And even if they don't feel like they can pop in right now, as they start to assimilate some of the things you're going to talk about, and maybe in the future, because it's probably the less risky of all the things they could be doing. Like I used to day trade. So
oh wow, that's risky, Sally.
yeah. Cattle and corn.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from my broker. He said, look, if you don't get out of this trade, you're going to be taking like 150 steers pretty soon. I said, well, it's going to be hard to get them to Hawaii, because I was day trading in Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Well,
But it was
yeah,
fun. It was
yeah,
fun.
yeah, lots of adrenaline for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just I mean, just we were talking about this just before we came on here, but i- so the stock market is always going to be volatile, and
Hmm.
if you can wait out the storms,
Hmm.
your wealth is going to grow. But I just can't deal with all of that volatility.
Hmm.
But Warren Buffett has has had billions of dollars sitting in CDs for at least the last 6 months.
Hmm.
Why would he do that? Well,
Hmm.
he thinks something is coming. And then also, I
Hmm.
heard an interview just this past week from it's the president of the Federal Reserve Bank in Minneapolis, and this he was not reporting on what the Fed is saying, but he said his perception has been for the last several months that we're headed for a major recession. I wouldn't want my money in the stock market in this environment. Uh, Real estate is not immune to ups and
Hmm.
downs, but just for where the stock market crashed in 2008, and lots of people had to extend their wishes for retirement for many, many years because it took a
Hmm.
long time to recover that wealth that was lost. The real estate markets took a dip, uh, but overall, nationwide, while the stock market crashed and while the residential housing market crashed too, they lost. Oh, nationwide, we lost 35 to 40% of residential real estate value.
Hmm.
Multifamily, on the other hand, lost about 7 to 10% nationwide. So
Hmm.
it is a recession resistant
Resistant, yes,
investment.
because people
Yes,
always need a place to live,
yes, absolutely. Yes,
and they
indeed.
need to wash their car.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Although I don't think washing their car is going to be quite the same priority as getting a roof over their head. But yes, they do
And
need
Mr.
both.
Buffett took a lot of money out of Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
He took a lot of
that's
cash
amazing.
out,
Yeah.
and he's 92, and he's still very very wise.
Mm. And
Although yes,
guess what?
although yes, I have a bias. I wouldn't drink Coca-Cola.
What companies does he own? I mean, he owns a lot of companies, but Berkshire
Yeah.
Hathaway owns Clayton Homes. Guess who
Yes.
finances those homes? Warren Buffett's
Ron Buffett.
finance
Yes.
company. And guess
Yes.
who finances those mobile home park investors? Warren Buffett through
Yes.
yes. So
Clayton Homes. Yes.
yes, Clayton Homes. Yes,
He's one smart cookie.
yes, he is indeed. Yes.
Yes.
So
Well, Alan, this has been delightful. Your personal story was, I think, very timely to just show people that when you finally find your purpose and you feel really authentic in what you're doing, that it's so inspiring, and the passion just pulls you in directions, and you don't feel like it's a drudge. It's like it's fun, and you get to hang out with some really cool people.
absolutely.
So thank you so much for being on this podcast today. I can't wait to get it up and going and getting it on YouTube and all the channels. And please, if you're listening to this podcast, please subscribe and follow us. And also go over to Alan's podcast and take a look at his. Is that Steed Talker? Is that your podcast?
The podcast is currently it is Real Estate Investing Abundance. We
Okay.
are changing our title to Streams to Impact, so you can find it
Okay.
either way there.
Okay, great. Alan, it's been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate you so much. And we will see you the next time. God knows, maybe we'll be even talking in your classroom again.
Maybe so.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sally.
See you later.